Hey everyone, my name is Charlie and today is the beginning of another reading vlog. It is Wednesday and the whole reason that we haven't had a vlog recap at all this week is simply because of the wool gathering video that I recorded on Monday. It was time to return to wool gathering. I hadn't done that in a long time because I'd seen some criticism about videos where we weren't really talking about books, and I felt like I wanted to make more content focused on the reading and the writing, and also, as much as my wool gathering videos had been popular in the past, they were getting lost in a quagmire of other videos, and so I just thought I'd take a break. And then I took a break from YouTube for a few months, and then that turned into a break for wool gathering for a year. I thought, can we leave it a year? We could, and it only happened on Monday because I didn't know that video was going to be so long. So we're checking in today. I did say that I was going to finish reading Skandar and the Unicorn Thief by A.F. Steadman on Monday. That didn't happen because of a few things that arose on Monday and into yesterday. So let's talk about those here. After I spoke to you on Monday, I asked my dad if he would give me a lift to the Herdsfield entrance to the towpath and then walk back so far as to get a hour-long walk in, and then I would ring my mum and ask her to pick me up at the other end. The whole reason for this is because Sally won't walk along the main roads. I understand it, she's a very small dog, and the road that I have to come down has a lot of lorries going down it. I texted my mother as soon as I started the walk because another thing that Sally has is when she gets dropped off, she gets a pack mentality and she wonders why we aren't with the people that we set off with, and so she keeps trying to pull me back in the direction which we've just come from. So it's taken me a while to get this walk going, but eventually it does. I walk to the exit from the towpath. Now, as I was walking, I was thinking, should I just stop at the pub and wait for 20 minutes and then do the final leg of the trip? Because that means that my mother will have time to finish work and actually get to the car park. But I looked at the time and I thought, no, it's fine. It's going to take me a certain amount of time to get to this car park anyway. I should have stopped at the pub. But I also want to kind of not get a reputation for keeping going to pubs because I've never been that type of person before. Because when I got to the exit from the towpath that I always finish at, she wasn't there. She ended up finishing work late. She hadn't seen my message and we stood around for a bit waiting for her. Then I walked back to the pub, and so all in all, I was gone for nearly 3 hours from the house. And when I got back, there were things that I wanted to do, which meant that this didn't get read. I'd also received an email from Fly on the Wall Press about one of their books, which is Lying Perfectly Still by Laura Fish, and I didn't know whether they still wished for me to review this book because unfortunately the author passed away a few weeks ago, and this book comes out tomorrow, which is October the 24th. This is a rather brilliant novel where Kaliwe leaves England to start a job overseas as an aid worker in Eswatini, formerly the Kingdom of Swaziland, and kind of delves into the corruption in certain aspects of foreign aid, which I'd heard things about before, but this was perhaps the first time I'd seen them within modern fiction. Well, at least in the fiction that I read, it doesn't tend to be a topic that I head towards because I know that it's going to be a bit grim and dark and a tough read. And this was, especially given the character's grief at the beginning of the book, the grief that propels her to make the decision to go and do this aid work anyway. And I'd received this email asking me when I was going to put a review up, and I was like, well, I haven't reviewed it or mentioned it because I didn't know whether it was appropriate because of everything that has occurred, but they have asked that I review it, so that should be a video I do this week. So I was reading a bit of this again to remind myself of what had occurred because it had been a while since I had first looked at it. Also, yesterday I had seen that I got a message from Katie, who had gone past me and overtaken me whilst reading Mr Scarborough's Family, and so I thought I'd best catch up with this. So I spent a lot of my time yesterday catching up with Katie in this, and oh my goodness, there are two characters that Katie and I both agree are fantastic, who are Florence and, is she Miss Grey, and Dolly Grey, two absolutely amazing female characters within Victorian literature. And another thing that happened as well was a certain European destination came up, and I was like, this book feels really exotic to me now, because for whatever reason, whenever I'm so Eurocentric and so England-centric when it comes to Victorian novels, that any time the books travel abroad, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is exotic. These people are rich. Something happened, and ultimately, it gave this completely different feel to the book. And Katie sent me a supposition about one of the characters, and I want to read on to see what's caused her to begin to feel like this. But also, if that did happen and it changed the trajectory of the novel, then I would be even more thrilled, because so far this book has been so full of intrigue. Yes, there's the common things about love and money that we always see explored within Anthony Trollope's works, but there is an added sense of intrigue that I saw hinted towards in The Vicar of Bullhampton, but it didn't last too long in there. Whereas in here, the intrigue has been there for over 100 pages now, and it doesn't feel like it's letting up. So I'm invested in this one. This evening, I have been invited to do a reading and an interview on a local artist's Facebook page. I don't know how to describe what they do, but basically they regularly have musicians on and then interview them with this Wednesday guest spot. And they have previously had poets on there before, but I haven't seen a poet on there in a while. About a year ago, they asked whether I would appear on there, and it just hasn't worked out until now. My friend Joy was supposed to appear before me, but due to illness, among other things, that hasn't happened. So I get to take the bull by the horns, or whatever the saying is, and have a go at that tonight. Can't deny feeling mildly nervous, and it's all because I'm not in control of the situation. I'm not deciding what's on the microphone. It's live. I do get to decide which poems I read, though, and so I'm sure it will be perfectly fine when it does happen. And I'm thinking that I can probably finish the final 50 pages of Skandar before then. That's what I'm hoping to get done. Yesterday's walk with Sal, my dad dropped me off behind the Robin Hood in Reno to have me walk up to his field, thinking it would take me ages. And it might have done at my heaviest a few years ago, but I'd completed it rather quickly, and I was there like, now what do I do for the hour while I wait? I was going to walk across to one of his other fields, but a relative was in there running their dog, so what can you do? That's me for today. Gonna have a bit of a cup of tea, and then my mum should be back within half an hour, so I'll make another cup of tea for her, and then get set about making tea, and then leave for this poetry / interview thing that I'm doing later on this evening. It's Friday, we're back at work. You're balanced on books again. I might end up getting a bit distracted as I look at what work I need to do to get them sorted today, as I'm seeing biographies with the fiction where they ought not to be and that sort of thing. There's a load of games shoved on here that shouldn't be here. It's fantastic. It's a little bit of work for me to do this morning. Also got to talk to my manager, because even though I've only just come back, in a couple of weeks I have a poetry thing happening one evening, so I'm supposed to be taking the following day off work. I've just seen that my manager's crossed herself off for that day, but I'd already got it in on the system weeks ago and she agreed with me, so now I've got to talk about that. Isn't it great when we come into work with issues? Still behind on Mr. Scarborough's family, and need to talk to Katie about this because I am now 8 chapters behind. We're supposed to be reading 4 a day, so by the end of today that could mean that I'm actually 12 chapters behind. I did bring the book to work with me, but I don't think I'm going to have any opportunity to read it today. I have been looking at the volunteers that we have in today as well, so I need to figure out why some of them are here. Just seeing that somebody's put the week codes on in the wrong place, that's fun too. Anyway, that doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter to anybody here. Let's talk about Skandar and the Unicorn Thief. I finished it. I think that the final act is a great show of friendship and how far these characters have come, and understand why children will really enjoy this series and this book. If I saw another one of the books, I might read it. It's good to have helped inform me as to what's going on in children's fiction at the moment, but also made me wonder whether I actually want to even work on the children's book at this point. I was talking to Joy at the Writers Group yesterday, saying that I don't know what I wish to work on next, what I wish to plan, and how I'm just in this quandary at the moment. And said about how this happens, and maybe it is just a case of I need to edit and wait for the edits to come back on Mistakes Mean Murder. I was thinking about another book yesterday and how I had this idea
and I could plan this. The other day I did the live stream that I told you about where I went and read poetry, and then I did an interview afterwards, and I have a notebook in which I have my set written down of how I go through the poems, and I couldn't find that, and so I just had to wing it on the night. I think it went okay, and then last night I found it because I happened to look across from me and see a bag full of books in my room. This is a bag full of books that was supposed to come to the charity shop, but I just started picking them out and bringing one or two with me rather than try and heft this whole bag with me, and it was on top there. So that's been located, and that has my plans for the charity shop booking. So do I try and get that in? Because the plan is all there. I don't know. There's also that one I was working on in August this year, which is the book about the woman who lies and tells everyone she's dying and she's not, and then realizes that maybe she has more friends than she realized she did. I think that I just have some thinking to do. But right now, I need to tidy up these books because honestly, I am already incensed by how they're looking, and if I chat to you anymore, I'm just going to get further and further annoyed. So I'm going to disappear, I'm going to sort these books out, and I will probably chat to you tomorrow to round things off. If not tomorrow, Sunday, because something is supposed to be happening tomorrow, and I don't want to jinx it by mentioning it, but it might mean I don't get the chance to talk to you until Sunday.
Once again, I lied to you in the last clip, and I'm really here to draw a line under this vlog and say goodbye to last week. So, Katie of Books and Things had organised a booktuber meetup. I was unable to go to two things that were happening with booktubers in London this year. While I could afford the ticket down there if I booked very far in advance by train, I couldn't afford to stay the night, so that's why I couldn't do London. But they said York. And so, while it was an expensive train ticket, I said to me, Mother, how do you fancy a day out on the 26th of October? And we coordinated things so that my sister could be there as well, so that she and my mother and my sister's fiance could go off and get about York, and I could spend time with booktubers, which is what happened. However, I have no proof on my phone that this occurred. If you want proof, go to Charlie of Charlie Brooks Reads YouTube or Instagram, where she has a reel or she has a vlog of the day on her channel, and I will leave a link to that in the description. I met some booktubers I've been watching for years, some of whom I did not know were subscribed to me and knew who I was, which was surprising, and others who were new to me, and it was great to meet them. So there we go. I met some people. I only insulted a few of them. I might have insulted all of them. I certainly gave it a good go. But as with all booktube meetup type things, there were books hauled on this visit. Strangely enough, these were from two bookshops that Katie originally hadn't envisaged us visiting, but we'd finished a bit earlier, and so she said we could go to these places. And in one of them, I was about to leave the shop when I saw this book, and it is To Cook a Bear by Mikael Niemi, and this was translated by Deborah Bragan Turner. I was leaving the shop, looked back and saw this on the shelf. I've no idea who mentioned this. It was either on YouTube or a writerly or readerly acquaintance that I know who recommended this book to me. It's 1852 in Sweden's far north. A milkmaid has gone missing in the forest, and the locals believe that it's a bear. However, these two people, Lars, Levi, Listidius and Juicy, are using early forensics, and basically they're wondering whether it's something more sinister than just a bear. And was it the first line that did it for me? I did like the first line. I wake to a complete absence of sound in a world biding its time before coming to life. Yes, there might have been a tiny little bit of the purple prose about it, but I liked the sound of it, and as I say, somebody had recommended it. I've no idea who. Then we went into another bookshop, and my main aim throughout the entire day had been to buy Barbara Pym, and I found 3 in there, but I didn't know that Jack has spread Bookjoy was also reading Barbara Pym. Maybe she's mentioned it on her channel at some point, but you know me, as I told them all on the day, I ain't been watching Booktube recently. If it's not been Airline or Don't Tell the Bride Revisited, I ain't been watching it. In fact, I don't even watch them. I only go on them for the dramatic bits where they're shouting at each other and then switch off. So really, I just need to find out what's going wrong in my life and fix it. I got Jane and Prudence by Barbara Pym, which I'm pretty sure that the characters who appear, well, it happens a lot in Barbara Pym that characters who have appeared in one appear in others, or they're just referenced, but I'm pretty sure that I've seen these referenced already in another one of the ones that I've read. And then I also have some Tame Gazelle. This one here, I know that my friend Joy read earlier in the year, and weirdly, this matches my edition of The Sweet Doved Died. The only issue I've got with this is that this cost me £2, and if it had been my charity shop, this would have been thrown away. But what can you do? Other charities have their own way of doing things, and sometimes that means overcharging for books. And then I just happened to be perusing, and I saw this next book, and this was recommended to me by a volunteer about a year ago. And it is The Restraint of Beasts by Magnus Mills, which was shortlisted for the Booker Prize whenever this was. Well, this edition was published in 1999, and my volunteer had told me that this was one of the funniest books that she had ever read, and was also about working class characters. So I thought that I would give it a go. It's also one thing that I've liked about these 3 books in particular is that they are relatively short, and these 3 have all been books that I have been looking out for. We can say that I've been looking out for To Cook a Bear as well, but as I said on the day, no idea who recommended this. It's just been in my mind to read. This became a discussion that I had with Charlie this morning about how I feel I've become more intentional with the books that I've been buying. And these are all books that I know I want to read, whereas sometimes you just buy stuff on a whim. Reading-wise, over the last week, indeed over the last few months, I have not been reading as much as I'd hoped. I've been allowing distractions to get in the way. So I didn't finish Anno Dracula this week, though I'm hoping to do so over the next week. I fell behind in my reading of Mr Scarborough's Family by Anthony Trollope. I'm buddy reading this with Katie, and I'm aware that she has sped on in front of me. I've been a terrible buddy reader, and I am apologetic of that, but that is just who I am. So I'm hoping in the next week to catch up with the books that I said I wanted to read in October. I don't think I'm going to finish The Last Chronicle of Barset this week, though I had hoped to. I might listen to some of the audiobook while doing a jigsaw that I want to do, but I don't think I'll be finishing it. And I didn't get to read the Joanne Harris book that I wanted to this month. I was surprised when I looked at my reading journal for this month and saw how many books I had actually read, because this has felt like a very long month. I don't know why. September for me felt like it didn't exist, and I was surprised by how few books I read in September. I just kept forgetting that we were going through that month, and it felt like I skipped it for October. And now we're at the end of October, and I think it's just that thing of there's been a regularity to my weeks this year where I've known exactly what I'm doing on any given day, and I've kind of scheduled my week. So Wednesday has always been about recording, getting videos out there, and then Monday, Friday, Saturday in work. Tuesday has always been the one day that I've saved for reading and treated like a Sunday. And I haven't been doing that because of the writing. I'm not feeling bad about these things, and I'm not angry with myself for having done it. I just think that it's this constant reminder that I have to give myself nowadays that I have other things that I'm doing as well. A big one at the moment is finding a car, which reminds me I need to inform my insurance I no longer have the car, otherwise they're going to take a lot of money off me. And yeah, actually find a darn vehicle. The volunteer who recommended The Restraint of Beasts to me a year ago also recommended I go to a specific garage in search of a car. and I was looking at their website, and I thought, yeah, great, this is a car that I want. It was the same make and model. It was the same make and model as my old car, but a newer model. And it turned out they hadn't updated their website since 2021. So I got to ring them and see whether they have any vehicles that'll do for me. But today is just a day. And will we read out? I didn't know. But for now, I'm going to go. I'd say, if you've read any of the books that I've purchased this week, or I'm currently reading, then feel free to discuss them in the comments. If there's anything you want to chat about in the comments, feel free to do that as well. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.